1 week before the wedding, Serena Harper finally received the news she had been waiting for. Her biological family had been found. "Serena, we found your biological parents. They are wealthy tycoons based in Northern Europe. They have been looking for you for over 20 years and are desperate to reunite with you as soon as possible." She couldn't wait to tell Julian Griffin the good news. However, as she approached, she accidentally overheard Julian chatting with his friends. "Julian, you're really playing the field, huh? Getting married next week and you're still messing around with young models. Playing the field doesn't mean I don't love Serena. I swore an oath. I'd sleep with 30 young women before the wedding, get it out of my system, and then after marriage, I'll be completely faithful to Serena. There are plenty of delicious women out there. Is 30 really enough? Anyway, Serena Harper is an orphan with no family to back her up, and she's completely devoted to you. Why not drag it out a few more years? Have your fun, then get married." Julian's voice turned serious. "I couldn't bear to make her wait that long. Cut the crap and find me some women with good bodies. 2 more will be enough. Don't delay my wedding with Serena next week." Frozen in shock for a long time, Serena trembled as she tore the wedding plan in her hands into shreds. She turned around and dialed her friend's number. "Do me a favor. I want to stage an accidental death at the wedding. I'm going to fake my death to leave Julian Griffin, and then I'm going to reunite with my biological parents." Her friend, Amanda Miller, gasped and asked repeatedly, "Are you serious? The whole world knows Julian loves you more than life itself. He spent 3 years preparing for this concert wedding. If you have an accident at the wedding, he'll go insane." After all, Julian had loved Serena for 10 full years. To their friends, his love for her bordered on madness. At 16, Julian had fallen in love with Serena at first sight. He was the heir to a massive conglomerate, and she was an orphan who grew up in the welfare system. Everyone thought Julian's interest in Serena was just a fleeting novelty. But unexpectedly, Julian spent 10 years proving he was serious. Because she grew up in an orphanage, he donated billions to orphanages across the city just to improve Serena's living environment. Because she often ate instant noodles while studying, he used the excuse of school welfare to steadfastly bring lunch for her entire high school class for 3 years, just so she could eat a nutritious hot meal. When she was admitted to the country's top university, he rejected the Ivy League path his family had paved for him and chose a regular university in the same city as her. In the scorching 100 degrees F heat of summer, he wore a mascot costume with her for hours. In the freezing winter, he handed out flyers with her bare-handed. The moment she agreed to be with him, he immediately handed over all his phone passwords and bank card pins to her, just to give her a complete sense of security. After finishing her master's degree, she entered the Aircraft Research Institute. Julian, however, lost his inheritance rights because he refused an arranged marriage. To give her the best material life, he entered the entertainment industry, working himself to the bone filming and taking gigs, finally becoming a top-tier A-list idol. At the peak of his fame, Julian proposed to her on a global livestream, offering 3 European estates as a dowry, breaking the hearts of countless fans. Overnight, Julian Griffin became synonymous with pure love, and girls all over the world begged Serena to share her tutorial on how to land such a good man. But this perfect man, envied by the world, had slept with over 20 women behind her back as their wedding date approached. Returning home, she found Julian's spare phone, which was logged into his Apple ID. Looking at the hundreds of gigabytes of intimate videos in the cloud album, Serena collapsed onto the floor. She clearly remembered the day of the proposal, how Julian had cried and laughed as he put the ring on her finger. His face covered in tears as he said he would die without her, begging her to swear she would never leave him. But on the very same day of the proposal, he turned around and took another woman out for a hookup in his car, recording over a dozen videos. Tears slid uncontrollably down Serena's cheeks. The phone's notification sound kept pinging continuously. They were all messages from Julian. "My Serena, after the wedding, let's go to the temple to pray. Everyone says it's very effective. I want to be husband and wife with you for my next 3 lifetimes. Did you eat lunch on time? Why aren't you answering my calls? Serena, are you okay? I'm a little worried about you." When Julian called for the 3rd time, Serena expressionlessly muted the sound. Over the years, Julian had asked her more than once to promise she would never leave him, even taking her to various temples to pray for them to be husband and wife in the next life. But she was determined to leave him completely in this life. At the wedding Julian had spent 3 years preparing, under the gaze of a global audience, she would leave him in the way that would cause him the most pain. After watching all the videos and photos in the album, Serena rushed out the door in a trance. She ran straight into the giant screen in the commercial plaza, which was playing the teaser for the concert wedding Julian had prepared for her. A crowd of excited girls gathered in front of the screen. I heard that to give Serena Harper a unique concert wedding, Julian invited various stars from home and abroad to perform. He spent 3 whole years preparing it. Oh my God, both of them are so good-looking and smart. Imagine how cute their kids will be. Inexplicably, the images she had just seen in the album flashed through her mind. A woman's shirt pulled up high, her chest covered in red marks. A strange infant buried its head on the left side feeding, while Julian held the right side, revealing a satisfied, wicked grin. The world spun, and Serena's vision suddenly went black. When she woke up, her hand was being tightly held by a large hand with distinct knuckles. She used a little strength to try and pull her hand away, but Julian gripped it even tighter. "Serena, you're awake? You almost scared me to death. You had low blood sugar yesterday. Do you feel better now? Do you want to eat something?" Julian spoke urgently, like a rapid-fire cannon. His eyes were bloodshot, as if he hadn't slept all night. Years ago, when kidnappers held a gun to his temple, he hadn't even batted an eye. But yesterday, when he heard Serena had fainted on the street, he panicked so much he couldn't hold his phone steady, abandoning a room full of people to rush over. Seeing Serena awake, but silent, staring at him numbly, he frantically called the nurse to check on her. He gently tested her forehead temperature with the back of his hand, then put down his phone and picked up a cup to mix medicine for her. The table was filled with her favorite Hong Kong-style dim sum, as well as her favorite cashmere pajamas and blanket. Having known him for 10 years, she could tell the look on his face wasn't fake. He was truly worried about her. But if he was so worried about her getting hurt, why did he sleep with so many women behind her back? Just as she was about to ask, a stranger's avatar lit up on the phone screen on the table. "I bought your favorite cutout maid outfit. It rips off easily. Want to try it tonight?" Serena turned her face away, tears falling like broken beads. Julian walked over with warm water and met Serena's tear-streaked face. He quickly dropped the cup, unfolded the wool blanket to wrap around her, and gently pulled her into his arms. "Why are you crying? Are you cold? Or did I do something wrong? I'll change whatever it is, just don't be sad. Sadness is bad for your health." His voice and embrace were as warm as ever, but a strange scent of woody perfume assaulted her nose, indicating he had just been intimate with another woman. She pushed Julian away. This was the first time in all these years she had rejected him like this. Julian was confused. He wanted to step forward and hold her but was afraid of upsetting her, so he just stood there blankly. Just as his eyes began to redden, Serena finally lowered her gaze and said faintly, "It's nothing. I just had a nightmare." Julian breathed a long sigh of relief and stepped forward to stroke her head with heartache. Serena had grown up without parents and was often teased by classmates and locked in dark rooms. As a result, even as an adult, she often had nightmares when sleeping alone. He gently wiped away her tears with a tissue. "Don't be afraid, Serena. With me here, no one dares to bully you. We'll go see the wedding house later. It's your favorite sunroom style, with lots of sunlight and stars shining in. We won't be afraid of nightmares anymore." Serena stared blankly at Julian's focused and serious face. Years ago, when she woke up from a nightmare, she had casually mentioned a sunroom from a fairy tale. He had actually remembered it until now and turned it into their marital home. From high school until now, 10 years had passed. For all these years, he had always been like this, taking every detail she mentioned to heart. In this moment, she wanted so badly to believe that Julian's dalliances with those women were just a nightmare she had woken up from. But the next second, his ringtone rang. Julian hurriedly walked out of the ward to answer the phone, leaving only a sentence about something happening on the film set, and never returned. An hour later, the photo album on Julian's spare phone updated. In the spacious sunroom, Julian and a girl with pigtails sat on a swing, bathed in the refracted sunlight, while his hand tentatively reached under the girl's skirt. Without looking any further, Serena turned off the screen. She didn't wait for Julian anymore. She pulled out the IV needle herself, silently tidied up the bed, and checked out. After handling the discharge procedures, she took a taxi home alone. After returning home, Serena sat withered in the living room until the lights of thousands of homes lit up outside the window. The work group chat on WeChat was silent, but right now, she desperately hoped for a few work messages to pop up. After leaving the orphanage, she always thought she had gained so much through her own hard work degrees, a job, a high salary, love. She excelled at everything. But in this moment, she suddenly realized that, ultimately, she only had herself. The backup phone's album updated again. This time, it was a video lasting half an hour. In the video, a girl wearing sheer lingerie was bent over the bed, and Julian, wearing only boxer briefs, his muscles congested from excitement, kneaded the girl, then scooped her up and placed her on the desk. Bedroom, bathroom, bathtub, living room, balcony, they did it in every corner of the house. The house had floor-to-ceiling windows on all sides, and the dome was a dazzling starry sky. This was exactly the marital home Julian had just described to her in detail, prepared for her. But the video was filled with panting sounds echoing in the dark living room. Serena's chest ached so much she could barely breathe, yet she watched the video over and over again, masochistically. Every background in the video was a room style she had described to Julian. He had really turned her dream sunroom into reality, but he had brought another woman into it, engaging in passionate acts inside. She unconsciously bit her hand until blood ran down the back of it, but she didn't let go. After sitting in a daze for a long time, Serena suddenly stood up and took 3 large tubs of ice cream from the freezer. She shoveled spoonful after spoonful into her mouth unconsciously, seeming unable to feel the coldness of the ice cream at all. When she first went to the orphanage, she was very small. When she was scared, she wanted the volunteer aunties to hug her. But there were many children and few volunteers. To prevent the children from crying for hugs, the volunteers never hugged her. Seeing how pitifully she cried, they would give her a small cup of homemade ice cream to soothe her. Over time, whenever she was sad and wanted to cry, she would stuff ice cream into her mouth uncontrollably, until she got together with Julian. With his unconditional support and hugs, she finally stopped craving that cold sweetness. But now, he was busy pressing another woman beneath him, leaving her behind in his mind. When she regained consciousness, she had eaten the entire freezer full of ice cream. Severe abdominal cramps made her see stars. The pain came in waves like the tide, each stronger than the last. She almost fainted from the pain. The phone rang suddenly. It was Julian. She struggled to answer, "Come back quickly, I." But before she could finish, Julian interrupted her hurriedly. "Serena, I have an emergency. I'll come over to accompany you tomorrow. You go to sleep first." After a loud noise, the other side seemed to think the call had hung up. Low growls and moans echoed through the room. "Gently, gently, ah." Serena lay weakly on the floor, no longer having the strength to distinguish whether her tears were from abdominal pain or heartbreak. A tearing pain struck, and she lost consciousness. When she woke up again, she was lying in a hospital bed. The cleaning lady had found her passed out and sent her to the hospital. The doctor said she had acute gastroenteritis and gastric bleeding due to excessive intake of irritating food. If it developed further into a gastric perforation, it could be life-threatening. The cleaning lady asked worriedly, "Since the condition is so serious, should we notify Mr. Griffin?" Serena stared blankly at the thin sunlight coming through the window and spoke softly. "No need. In the future, there's no need to notify him about anything regarding me." That afternoon, Serena stubbornly refused the IV drip, took bags of medicine back home, and put them away in the cabinet. An hour later, Julian returned, travel-worn. He first carefully warmed his hands and cheeks before pulling her into his arms and nuzzling her face. He excitedly took out his phone to show her. "Serena, look, I found someone to design a swimming pool for our marital home. On the hill behind the house, I also want to build a castle-like wooden cabin for you. Didn't you always tell me you wanted to live in the forest? I also asked Cartier's chief designer to create high-end couture jewelry for you to wear at the wedding. Take a look at what style you want." After speaking rapidly, Julian suddenly realized that Serena hadn't said a word from the beginning. He looked down and met Serena's frowned brows and sweaty face. He was startled, his tone distorting from excessive nervousness. "Serena, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell somewhere again? I'll take you to the hospital." In the past, whenever Serena was sick, Julian would be so anxious he couldn't sleep, staying by her side all night to take care of her. Seeing her suffer seemed to make him suffer 100 times more. But this time, she didn't want to tell him. She grabbed his hand as he picked up the car keys and said faintly, "It's nothing, just a stomach ache." Julian put down the keys, ran to get her stomach medicine, and then rushed into the kitchen, clanging around to boil brown sugar ginger water for her. 15 minutes later, he brought the water to her, instructing carefully, "It's so cold, you can't eat ice cream anymore. Remember to call me anytime if you feel uncomfortable." Serena took a sip of the ginger water and fell silent again. Seeing her silence, Julian said somewhat sheepishly, "I shouldn't have left you alone in the ward yesterday. I went to save the situation at the film set. But I promise, from now until the wedding, I've pushed all work aside to focus only on you. Later, I'll take you to see our wedding house, okay? You'll definitely like it." Serena forced the corners of her mouth up. If it weren't for those videos and photos yesterday, it would indeed have been her dream home. But at this moment, she shook her head and looked away. "I'm not going. I have to attend the Apex Corp aircraft project launch later." Julian didn't suspect anything. He got up to fill a thermos with ginger water. "Okay, I'll go with you." The afternoon event was the Apex Corp aircraft project launch. Serena Harper attended as an expert technical consultant. Since Apex Corp had a long-standing relationship with the Griffin family, Julian Griffin naturally went along. When the two arrived at the promotion venue, it was still early. Seeing them, the CEO of Apex Corp and several of Julian's business friends gathered around with wine glasses. "See, what did I tell you? Where there's Serena Harper, Julian Griffin is sure to be, exactly." Only Julian Griffin would give up the family business to enter the entertainment industry, just to chase his wife. A true business prodigy turned lover boy. "Where's the wedding candy?" Handed over, Julian hugged Serena tighter, smiling with excellent temper. "Cut it out. We have to collect enough gift money at next week's wedding first. Only if Serena is satisfied will there be wedding candy." The friends teased Julian for prioritizing romance over friends and being whipped, telling Serena to keep him on a tight leash as his lovesickness was incurable. If it were the past, Serena would have shown a shy and happy smile long ago. But this time, she just nodded silently and looked away. Amidst the toasts, a woman with a graceful figure suddenly approached, attracting the attention of the entire room. Sylvia Chase, wearing a sexy red dress, waved elegantly to everyone. "I'm Sylvia Chase. Thank you all for coming to the drone project launch hosted by me and Apex Corp. Please eat and drink well." Julian's hand tightened sharply on Serena's, and Serena's heart sank abruptly. She recognized this face immediately. It had appeared many times in Julian's photo album. Even in several videos, Sylvia, heavily pregnant, was still hooking up with Julian. The tightness in her chest, coupled with the cramps in her abdomen, intensified. Serena bent over and covered her stomach. "Serena, is your stomach hurting again? Let me take you to rest." Julian anxiously supported Serena, letting her lean into his arms to make her more comfortable. Sylvia, standing in front, smiled and cued the flow. "It's time for our technical consultant, Miss Serena Harper, to come up for a group photo. Why are you still nestled in a man's arms? Is it because the money Apex Corp gives isn't as much as the money a man gives?" Julian's face darkened ominously. "Sylvia Chase, watch your words." Sylvia didn't back down at all. "Just a commoner with no father or mother. We paid to hire her, so she has to listen to us." Before she could finish, Julian's hand had already swung out. With a loud slap, Sylvia fell heavily to the ground and a bank card landed with her. Julian said coldly, "I'm withdrawing Serena from this project on her behalf. There's $30 million on the card. Consider it the breach of contract fee. Take the money and get lost." Picking up the bank card with a smile and examining it for a moment, Sylvia covered her face and stood up briskly. She looked at Julian meaningfully. "You know, with our background, we don't care about a mere $30 million, unlike some people." Her eyes glanced vaguely at Serena. Before Julian could get angry again, Sylvia laughed coquettishly and walked out of the venue, while the people around began to whisper and look at Serena. Julian looked at Serena's pale face with concern, holding her shoulders to take her to rest. "Serena, let's go rest first. Don't overthink it. When it comes to money, you never have to worry." But Serena pushed Julian's hand away, avoiding his gaze. "I'm fine. I want to go out for some fresh air by myself." Outside the venue, Serena ran into Sylvia, who was smoking against the corridor wall. She wanted to detour, but Sylvia reached out to stop her. Choking smoke was blown into Serena's face. She turned her face away silently, but Sylvia was relentless. "Julian plays around a lot outside. Do you think Julian cares about you more because he hit me for you? To him, I'm the most special one. Because I gave birth to a daughter for him." Seeing Serena's pupils shrink suddenly, Sylvia laughed even more recklessly. "Do you believe that not only will he leave you for me, but he will also give your wedding house to me and our daughter?" With that, without waiting for Serena's response, Sylvia twisted her waist and walked toward the hotel opposite. She had entangled herself with Julian for 3 whole years, not hesitating to be the 3rd or 4th mistress to have his child and stay by his side, just to get the position of Mrs. Griffin. She had staked her entire youth, reputation, and the Chase family's honor on this. The position of Mrs. Griffin could only be hers when Serena returned to the venue. Julian was pacing anxiously. Seeing her return, he glanced guiltily outside. "Baby, I have to go supervise the wedding stage. I'm heading over there now. The driver is already outside. He'll take you home later." With that, he let go of Serena's hand and turned to leave. The next second, Serena grabbed his wrist tightly. She looked carefully at Julian's somewhat tense face, enunciating each word clearly. "Julian Griffin, I have something to ask you." Looking into Serena's eyes staring straight at him, Julian felt inexplicably panicked. But just a moment ago, Sylvia had sent him a photo. She and a new young model were tied up together, lying on the bed waiting for his arrival. The fire of desire had already ignited. He really couldn't extinguish it temporarily. After struggling for 3 seconds, he messily rubbed Serena's head and pulled his hand away. "There are some problems with the concert wedding preparations. I must go quickly. Baby, you can tell me on WeChat if there's anything. I'll reply instantly on the way." Serena's chest and abdomen seized with a sharp pain. She watched helplessly as Julian rushed out of the venue, then she collapsed onto the sofa. The ringing in her ears and the noise of the venue made her dizzy. She slapped herself hard across the face. After the launch event ended, Serena received a video from Sylvia in the car. In the video, Julian was carrying a 2-year-old girl on his shoulders, smiling brilliantly like a loving father. Aside, Sylvia sat on the sofa rubbing her waist. "I missed you so much that I went to the venue to find you, and you pushed me so hard." Julian handed his daughter to the nanny and said coldly, "I've said it many times. You and those women are not allowed to appear in front of her." But the next second, he sat down beside Sylvia and began rubbing her waist. After rubbing for a few minutes, his distinct knuckles gradually reached toward Sylvia's chest. Sylvia held down his wandering hand. "Didn't you just do it with me and Yixuan? Why again? Our daughter's birthday is coming up soon. She really likes that sunroom, and she also loves the cake Serena made for you last time." Serena threw the phone aside and didn't watch any further. Her mind was filled with the little girl's face in the video. The features on that small face were carved from the same mold as Julian's. Needless to say, this was Julian's flesh and blood. The next second, a new photo from Sylvia arrived. Sylvia led the little girl, pulling a suitcase, and moved into the 4-sided glass wedding house Julian had prepared for Serena. Tears burst from her eyes, and Serena laughed out loud maniacally. She laughed at her own stupidity. It was one thing for her fiancé to sleep with over 20 women outside, but she only found out today that he had fathered a child with another woman 2 years ago. She slumped onto the bed, feeling she had exhausted all her emotions and strength. But it didn't matter. She had planned everything. As long as she held on until the wedding in 3 days, she could leave. She heard from her friend that her biological parents were wealthy tycoons. They lost her back then due to a nanny's mistake. They wanted to pick her up the day they found out and take her to Sweden to live together and make up for everything. But at Serena's insistence, the reunion was set for after the concert wedding. On the family search system, if Serena didn't disclose her information, her biological parents couldn't know her current identity. nor could they contact her directly. Therefore, she wanted to break cleanly with everything related to Julian before reuniting with her parents, free of burdens. After all, if her parents saw everything sordid about her fiancé and knew she had an accident, it would surely be another blow to them. Amanda had sent her a photo yesterday. The female corpse in the photo resembled her by 70%. The wedding venue setup was also proceeding in an orderly manner. As long as she lasted until the wedding, she could leave. But what Serena didn't know was that, at this moment, in Gothenburg, Sweden, a middle-aged couple was tearing up over the news of Serena Harper Julian Griffin's wedding. After gazing at the bride's photo for a long time, they dialed a private detective's number. The message notification sounded. Julian, who had been silent all afternoon, finally sent a message. "If your stomach is bad, you must eat on time. I ordered 3 dishes and 2 soups for you. They are all stomach-friendly. It should arrive soon." The picture below showed 3 of her usual favorite dishes and 2 stomach-soothing soups. The colors of the dishes were light, seemingly specially ordered to be bland. The doorbell rang right on time outside. Serena took the food container expressionlessly, turned around, and threw it into the trash can. Over the past few days, Serena packed up all non-essential items, as well as all the gifts Julian had given her over the years: clothes, jewelry, bags, leaving nothing behind. She sold these items on a website at a 70% discount and sent the proceeds, along with all the money she had earned over the years, to the orphanage that raised her. Tomorrow was the wedding, and after the wedding, she would leave everything behind and go to a strange country. She wanted to say a proper goodbye to the place that raised her before she left. Receiving Serena's donation, the orphanage director was moved to tears. She held Serena's hand tightly, bowing again and again. "The children here can live such a good life, now thanks to you, and Mr. Griffin just sent someone to deliver a large sum of money a while ago, and now you're here to send donations. I really don't know how to thank you." Looking at the 8-figure transfer proof in the director's hand, Serena felt a mix of emotions. But the next second, the ringtone came. She answered the phone. It was Julian. "Serena, I have something to discuss with you. That sunroom tested positive for excessive formaldehyde. Can we use another house as the wedding home the day after tomorrow? I'll build you a few more houses later and make the floor-to-ceiling windows and starry dome even more beautiful." "Okay." Too lazy to listen to Julian's excuses, Serena agreed directly. Julian said cautiously, "Serena, are you unhappy? You must tell me if you're unhappy." Serena gave a silent, sarcastic smile. "No, I'm just a little tired from trying on wedding clothes and makeup these past few days." Julian didn't hear the anomaly in her voice. "Our Serena looks good in anything. No need to work so hard. Pay attention to rest," he phrased his words carefully. "A friend of mine has a child celebrating a birthday tonight. She really likes the cake you made for me before. Could you?" "No problem." Serena interrupted him again. Julian's joy was overflowing. "Thanks for your hard work. I'll bring you several more sets of Van Cleef Arpels jewelry when I come home today." Hanging up the phone, Serena's nails had already dug deep into her palm. Flesh was torn, a blur of blood. After saying goodbye to the director, she bought the ingredients for the cake and returned home. She was an orphan. Years ago, she was almost dragged into an alley by hooligans, and it was Julian who saved her life. This cake would serve as repayment for that kindness. From now on, he would just be a stranger to her. While she was whisking the egg mixture, Julian returned home, travel-worn. He took off his cold coat, rubbed his palms warm, and hugged her tightly from behind. "Serena, the happiest thing in the world is seeing you by my side when I come home. Promise me, we will be together not just in this life, but in the next life and the life after that." He kissed her neck gently but didn't get the response he wanted. Watching Serena lower her eyes and concentrate on mixing the flour and egg liquid, a trace of uneasiness welled up in Julian's heart. He hugged her tighter and asked softly, "Serena, did I do something wrong again?" "No, I just want to make the cake prettier." Serena lowered her eyelids and answered perfunctorily. Julian rubbed her head with heartache, turned around, and took out 3 sets of custom-made luxury jewelry, holding them up in front of Serena. "Serena, look. I customized 3 sets of jewelry for you. Choose your favorite one to wear at the wedding." Glancing at it quickly, Serena responded casually, "The Black Swan set." Julian took the other 2 sets of jewelry to the jewelry cabinet. What appeared in front of him were several empty cabinets. He opened several jewelry cabinets and cloakrooms in succession, only to find that the jewelry and clothes inside were gone. "Serena, where are the jewelry and clothes I gave you? I packed them up and donated them." Julian was bewildered. Several sets of jewelry and clothes were birthday gifts he had given her. Each item alone was worth millions, and she usually couldn't even bear to wear them. But today, she donated them all. He panicked more and more, his pitch rising suddenly, his voice trembling slightly. "Serena, why don't you want those things anymore? Do you not want me anymore?" Finishing the piping process in front of her, Serena slowly stepped forward and held his hand. Her tone was gentle, betraying no emotion. "Those things take up too much space. It's better to donate them to people who need them more. Besides, out with the old, in with the new. Aren't there new ones here?" Looking at Serena's natural and relaxed expression, Julian's wildly beating heart calmed down again. Serena loved him deeply, and he had slept with 30 women. From now on, he would only be faithful to her. Tomorrow was their wedding. Everything was ready. What could go wrong? Approaching the wedding, girls always behave a little strangely, not to mention Serena was so insecure. Thinking of this, he followed Serena closely, ordering a dozen new sets of clothes for her. He peeled oranges, poured water, and massaged her until she finished the 2-layer cake. Once the cake was done, Julian carefully packed it in a gift box. After kissing Serena forcefully twice, he hurried out the door with the cake. Serena didn't bother wondering where he was going or what he was doing. She simply focused on organizing her things' essentials, passport, visa, counting them slowly and calmly. Just as she finished checking her items, Sylvia sent another message. "Come to private room A03 at the Cloud Top Hotel. It's very exciting here." Serena gripped her phone tightly, her knuckles turning white. Sylvia sending a message meant she wanted to humiliate her, but she had already mentally prepared herself to see any kind of scene, and she was certain she would absolutely not break down over Julian this time. Putting on sunglasses, she slowly walked out the door. But when Serena stood at the door of the private room, she was still deeply stung by the scene before her. The setup inside was more complete than a New Year's Eve dinner. Julian's father, mother, Julian's brothers, and his uncles and aunts were all holding big red envelopes, crowding around Sylvia and her daughter. Serena bit her lip. She remembered when she and Julian got engaged and went to his house, his family was lukewarm, treating her like she was invisible. She originally thought his family needed time to warm up, but now it seemed they just didn't like her. Mrs. Griffin held the little girl in her arms, unable to stop smiling. "Darling, this is a big red envelope from Grandma and a gold bracelet from Grandpa. Keep them safe." Julian's friends stepped forward one by one to hand over their gifts, winking and offering blessings. Happy birthday to the baby, and wishing brother Julian and the sister-in-law eternal love and 100 years of harmony. Julian's face suddenly went cold. He said deeply, "I've said it many times. Only Serena Harper is your sister-in-law. Save this blessing for the wedding the day after tomorrow." The expressions of the brothers and Sylvia were a bit awkward. Mrs. Griffin, however, slapped the table and glared at Julian. "Says who? I only recognize Sylvia as my daughter-in-law. Sylvia's background matches ours, and she gave birth to a daughter for you. As for that Serena Harper, just treat her as a plaything." Julian tried to persuade her helplessly. "Mom, I've told you many times, I won't marry anyone but Serena in this life. I can give Sylvia anything she wants, but I just can't marry her." Hearing this, Sylvia was already teary-eyed. "Mom, I don't want anything. Money, houses, a marriage certificate, I don't want any of it. I just want Julian." Hearing this, Mrs. Griffin's face showed both heartache and anger. She slammed the table again and said loudly, "I don't care. Sylvia has stayed with you for all these years without asking for anything. You can't give her nothing. Stay with the two of them tonight, and tomorrow you go get the marriage certificate with Sylvia." Julian stood up abruptly, his face flushed with anger. "Mom, what are you saying? Tomorrow is my wedding with Serena. Don't cause trouble. Before, I was blinded to let you mess around. This time, no matter what, you have to get the certificate with Sylvia. I don't care about the wedding afterwards, but if you don't get the certificate with Sylvia, I'll jump off a building at your wedding." The old lady was shaking with anger at Julian. Sylvia supported her, smoothing her breath stroke by stroke, saying nothing herself. Seeing this, the people around spoke up to dissuade him. "Brother Julian, the Civil Affairs Bureau opens at 6 anyway. Why don't you get the certificate with Sylvia first tomorrow?" Getting the certificate won't delay the concert wedding with Serena Harper. Even if you find some excuse to break up with Serena after the wedding, it'll be simple. Yeah, Serena Harper is just a researcher with no connections. She doesn't make money and has no parents. What benefit is there in marrying her? Besides, she has no one backing her up. She's easy to manipulate. Even if you never get a certificate with her, she won't bear to leave you. Just playing with her is enough. Hearing these consolations, the old lady's brows relaxed a bit. She said slowly, "Julian, they're right. As long as you get the certificate with Sylvia, even if you still want to hold the wedding with Serena afterwards, I won't object. I'll help you balance the scales." As she spoke, she tightened her grip on Sylvia's hand. People nearby chimed in, "Yes, don't worry, Brother Julian. Get the certificate first to appease the old lady. We'll definitely keep it a dead secret from Serena Harper's side. We guarantee you won't delay either side. Yeah, what point does Serena Harper have that can compare to Sister Sylvia?" For a moment, the banquet hall was filled with smoke and lively noise. Outside the door, Serena squatted in the shadows, her hands trembling uncontrollably. She bit her lip hard, the taste of blood filling her mouth. Julian kept a sullen face, pursing his lips tightly without saying a word to show his refusal. Just as Mrs. Griffin was planning to call someone to tie Julian up, the little girl in the center seat suddenly burst into loud wails. "Daddy, why won't you marry Mommy? Don't you want me and Mommy anymore?" The childish words, paired with the shrill crying, stabbed at Julian's heart word by word. Questioned like this by his own flesh and blood, his mental defenses finally began to crumble. His hands clenched into fists and released, over and over. Finally, when the little girl reached past a crowd of people, stretching out her small hands to beg him, Julian made up his mind. He picked up the little girl and patted her back rhythmically. "I will get the certificate with Sylvia, but you must not tell Serena about this, no matter what. Don't worry, that kind of woman is easy to fool. Exactly. Serena doesn't have the resources or connections of our circle. Information is blocked from her anyway. Plus, with our lips sealed, she'll absolutely never know. Congratulations to Brother Julian on marrying 2 fine wives in 2 days. Tonight, enter the bridal chamber with sister-in-law Sylvia. Tomorrow, after getting the certificate with Sylvia, enter the bridal chamber with Serena." Brother Julian is truly blessed. The atmosphere gradually became hyped. Sylvia opened the cake. With a smile, she glanced at the crack in the door, grabbed the heart shape in the middle of the cake into a ball of cream, and smeared it on the little girl's face. Infected by her, the exquisite pink 2-layer cake was casually smeared on faces, walls, and thrown on the floor by everyone. Julian stood aside without saying a word, allowing the double-layer pink cake she had spent 5 hours making to be trampled underfoot, turning into sticky garbage. Serena clutched her chest, feeling her heart ache to the point of suffocation. She stumbled out of the hotel and ran desperately toward home. The originally gloomy sky suddenly poured rain. Bean-sized raindrops hit her face, blurring her vision. Speeding cars passed close by. Serena stepped into emptiness and fell into a puddle a yard wide. Her knee was cut by a sharp stone, staining the puddle red. The bone-chilling cold made her shiver, but as if she had lost sensation, she got up and continued running forward. Since she could remember, she grew up in an orphanage, never receiving parental caresses or hugs, and never dared to hope for care and warmth from others. It was Julian who actively broke into her world, holding her in his arms when she was homeless, saying over and over that he would be her family from now on, that he would always protect her and never let her get hurt. But today she learned that to Julian and his family, she was just an orphan who could be easily fooled. From beginning to end, she had been played in the palm of their hands like a clown. When she returned home, Serena was already covered in mud, but she didn't rush to change clothes. Instead, she rushed into the bedroom and took out the wedding suit she had embroidered for Julian. This was a Chinese-style wedding suit she had started embroidering a year in advance. She wasn't good at embroidery. To embroider 100 happiness characters, she stayed up for over 100 nights, pricking her fingers every time, finally finishing it a week before the wedding. But at this moment, she slashed at it desperately with a small knife. The 100 happiness characters were all slashed open by her, the silk fabric cut to shreds. Then, she took out the wedding veil and suicide note she had already prepared. The veil looked light and thin, but thick cotton padding was sewn inside. The suicide note was written by staying up late these past few days, spanning over a dozen pages. It was filled with details of how Sylvia had provoked her these days, and how Julian had deceived her. After preparing everything, there was still no sign of Julian. A few hours later, the sky turned slightly bright. Unsurprisingly, the cloud album on Julian's backup phone updated again. The video content updated this time showed him holding a whip and vigorously whipping Sylvia and another woman's lower bodies. He seemed particularly angry, using so much force that both women cried out. But Serena no longer had the interest to investigate the reason for his anger. She found all the photos of the two of them in the house and burned them all. She also deleted all photos of herself from Julian's cloud album. At 4:30 a.m., the wedding makeup team knocked on the door. Along with them came a message from Julian: "Serena, it's not suitable to meet the night before the wedding. Prepare well. I've been coordinating at the concert wedding stage the whole time. I will give you the grandest wedding tomorrow." Serena laughed scornfully, turned off her phone, and let the makeup artist groom her. There were more than 3 hours left until their concert wedding. For the whole month, Julian had been building momentum for tomorrow's wedding, placing teaser clips of the concert wedding in various cities across the country and on social platforms. He also distributed red envelopes totaling $500 million during the teaser livestream. Coupled with the presence of these domestic and international A-list stars he invited, the upcoming wedding livestream would definitely attract the attention of global netizens. And right in this highly anticipated wedding livestream, she would stage a suicide scene. At that time, her suicide note revealing the truth would be published on all platforms. Sweden, Arlanda Airport. A middle-aged couple paced back and forth in the first-class waiting area. Behind them sat a young man, looking down and organizing boxes of gifts, big and small. Zachary Sterling grimaced as he tried to stuff the gifts into a bag. After failing a few times, he couldn't help but complain, "Dad, Mom, we're not taking a private jet this time. It's inconvenient to bring so many gifts." Sebastian Sterling stormed over and slapped Zachary on the forehead. "Stop talking nonsense. It took us over 20 years to finally find your sister Serena." "What's wrong with bringing more gifts for her?" Lillian Sterling, the mother, chimed in. "Exactly. If you hadn't lent out all our private jets, we wouldn't be stuck taking a commercial flight to pick up your sister. I heard that after she got lost, she grew up in an orphanage. She was the little princess I wanted to pamper in the palm of my hand. Thinking about how she didn't even have anyone to hug her when she was sad all these years, and had to study to earn tuition." Thinking of this, Lillian wept uncontrollably. Sebastian pulled her into his arms to comfort her, his voice choking up too. Their daughter hadn't even notified them about the wedding this time, intending to recognize them only after getting married. She must still resent them in her heart. Fortunately, they recognized their daughter's photo on the news immediately and planned to appear suddenly at the wedding to give her a surprise, as well as red envelopes and gifts for her and her husband as their compensation to their daughter. Beside them, Zachary's eyes were also a bit moist. That year, their whole family went back to China for a tour. He was naughty and bumped his head. His parents took him to the hospital, leaving the nanny to watch his sister in the room. Unexpectedly, the nanny took his sister out to buy groceries without permission and lost her in the crowded market. At that time, his sister was only 2 years old. After learning about his sister's upbringing from the private detective, his parents and he were so heartbroken they couldn't sleep for days, vowing to make it up to her 100-fold. Zachary wiped his eyes, pointed at his phone, and pretended to be relaxed. "Don't cry. Sister is getting married tomorrow. Look how grand the wedding is, at least she's happy now." Sebastian and Lillian gathered around the phone, staring at the concert wedding promotional video in a daze. Bruno Mars, Adele, Ed Sheeran, Lady Gaga. Julian Griffin was able to invite these top domestic and international stars to his concert wedding. It seemed he had put his heart into it. The comment said he invested over $1 billion to prepare for the wedding, which barely counted as a passing grade. Sebastian frowned. This kid better treat Serena well, or else I'll make him die without a burial place, Zachary finished the sentence. You've said it 100 times better to hope for the best for our sister. If Julian really wrongs Serena, none of us will spare him. A cold light flashed in his usually playful eyes. But what if Serena isn't close to us and only wants to stay in China with Julian after marriage? Lillian calculated to herself. Then we'll take turns going back to China to live with Serena. Anyway, I absolutely won't let her suffer any grievances again. After discussing for hours, the Sterling family boarded the plane with bags full of gifts, rushing to Serena's wedding with endless joy and worry. China, 6:00 a.m., outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. Julian looked at the chat interface with Serena, a trace of unease rising in his heart. She hadn't replied to his messages since last night. This was a situation that had never happened in all their years together. But thinking of the report from the wedding team just now, that Serena was staying home properly for her wedding makeup, he pushed his anxious heart back into his chest. Julian looked around helplessly. The cars around the Civil Affairs Bureau were filled with spies sent by his mother. His mother threatened suicide, insisting he get the certificate with Sylvia today, no matter what. His daughter was crying and holding his leg all day, so he could only nod. If Serena knew, thinking of this, he shuddered violently, then suppressed this minuscule possibility. He would die before letting Serena know, just 2 months. He only needed to wait 2 months. Once his mother's emotions stabilized, he could proceed with the divorce procedures with Sylvia as agreed. By then, he could get the certificate with Serena. Nothing would be affected. He would stay with Serena forever. Julian checked his watch repeatedly. He was still waiting for Sylvia to bring her ID card. It was already 6:10. The wedding with Serena officially started at 8 o'clock, and the concert wedding would begin in half an hour. It took an hour to drive from here to the wedding venue. Although everything was set up, he still wanted to get there a bit earlier. He hadn't seen her all day. He missed Serena's voice and embrace very much. It was almost 7:30, and Serena, dressed and ready with the wedding team, still hadn't seen Julian show up for the pickup. On Serena's phone screen, which hadn't dimmed yet, was a picture sent by Sylvia. 2 bright red marriage certificates side by side, glaringly stabbing Serena's eyes. I've already got the certificate with him. Now you are the mistress. Serena gave a sarcastic smile, threw the phone aside, and personally put on the vintage birdcage veil. The live stream is about to start. Let's go to the venue first. I have a surprise for Julian. The wedding staff and bridesmaids suddenly understood and gave Serena ambiguous smiles. Although the wedding schedule was already set, seeing how Julian spent money like water for Serena, they guessed that even if the bride wanted to wear a beggar's outfit and tap dance at the wedding, the groom wouldn't say a word of objection. At this moment, Julian had just finished getting the certificate with Sylvia and was driving frantically to the pickup location. Sylvia arrived half an hour later than agreed. He wanted to leave directly, but his mother arrived in person to block him, preventing him from picking up Serena on time. Fortunately, Serena was usually understanding and always considerate of his difficulties. Even at such an important moment as the wedding, she didn't even call to rush him. Thinking of this, Julian's heart softened instantly, rising with infinite guilt and pity for Serena. But it didn't matter. After the wedding, he would cut ties with Sylvia as soon as possible. He would use the rest of his life to make it up to Serena. Moreover, he had prepared a series of surprises for Serena at the wedding. He could almost see her moved to tears. Thinking of this, Julian excitedly stepped on the gas. Finally arriving at the pickup room, only 5 minutes later than the estimated time, Julian rushed through the door panting, holding 1,000 of Serena's favorite pearl white roses. But Serena wasn't waiting for him in the room. In the huge room, only a wedding staff member cleaning the venue remained. The two looked at each other in dismay. Looking around, cold sweat began to break out on Julian's forehead. She hadn't replied to his messages since last night, and now she had disappeared from the pickup room. Could Serena have run away from the wedding? Julian's legs felt weak and his tone was tight. Where did Serena go? The staff member looked at him inexplicably. Miss Harper went to the wedding venue early to prepare a surprise for you. She said the wedding livestream would start 20 minutes early. Didn't Miss Harper tell you? Julian's pounding heart finally calmed down. He quickly took out his phone and entered the wedding livestream room, seeing Serena wearing a diamond mermaid wedding dress, holding a bouquet, walking toward the high platform of the castle stage. The comments were already scrolling frantically. "Oh my God, the bride is drop-dead gorgeous, why hasn't the groom come yet? Letting such a beautiful bride wait here alone." Having experienced that scare just now, seeing the comments praising Serena and the stage, Julian's heart was filled with ecstasy. Watching Serena smile at the camera on stage, he was convinced she was waiting to surprise him after he appeared such an exquisitely beautiful woman. Such a cute and understanding girl was about to belong to him alone. Under the witness of the world, he exited the livestream room, grabbed the car keys, and sped toward the wedding venue at the fastest speed of his life. Below the stage, Sebastian Sterling and his family had just rushed directly from the airport, taking their seats out of breath. Looking at their daughter on stage, tears blurred Lillian's vision. She leaned on Sebastian's shoulder and choked up. Her features are exactly the same as when she was little, but she looks simply too beautiful in a wedding dress. A concert wedding in a castle. It seems the son-in-law put his heart into it. Serena should like Disney elements. Later, when we go on stage, let's bring her the Lena Bell bouquet. Looking at his sister, beautiful as an elf on stage, Zachary's nose also felt sour, but he suppressed his emotions and searched around with his eyes. The wedding livestream has started, and sister is on stage. Why is Julian, the groom, nowhere to be seen? Suddenly, the lights turned off. Only one beam of light shone on the bride on the stage. With the veil covering her face, no one could see her expression clearly. Holding the bouquet, she climbed up the stairs of the stage step by step toward the highest point of the castle. Outside the wedding venue, Julian held the bouquet. Nervously adjusting his suit, he suddenly remembered Serena had sewn a Chinese groom's suit for him. It was a pity today was Western style, so he couldn't use it. He secretly made up his mind to hold another Chinese wedding when getting the certificate with Serena. The phone rang suddenly. It was the secretary he sent to assist in managing the wedding venue. Julian answered unhappily, "I'm about to go on stage." "What is it?" The secretary's terrified voice came from the receiver. "Mr. Griffin, Miss Harper, she committed suicide." Julian's pupils shrank suddenly, and the blood in his entire body dropped to freezing point in an instant. "What did you say?" Watching the white figure fall from the heights, the stars and guests panicked, and the livestream comments turned into a chaotic mess. Lillian screamed "daughter" and lunged toward the stage. Zachary and Sebastian followed closely behind. They pushed through the crowd and rushed onto the stage, but Serena's body had already smashed through the castle's wooden floor, bloody and mangled. Lillian's vision went black, almost fainting. Sebastian supported her with trembling hands. When Julian rushed into the wedding venue like a madman, the guests were in chaos, the noise almost blowing the roof off. On the real-time comment screen at the venue, netizens were also in an uproar. Help! Why did Serena Harper suddenly jump from the top of the castle? Jumping from such a height, smashing a hole in the stage. She's probably dead. But why commit suicide at the wedding? Julian loves her so much, spent billions preparing the concert wedding. What was she thinking? Why treat our brother like this? Friends, go check Twitter. Serena scheduled a tweet. It has her suicide note and a recording. For a moment, the comments quieted down, and the guests at the venue also opened Twitter. Half a minute later, the way people looked at Julian changed to disgust and contempt. Several A-list stars even stood up and left directly. Someone in the audience turned on the speakerphone, and the audio content from Serena's tweet instantly echoed throughout the venue. Says who I only recognize Sylvia as my daughter-in-law. Sylvia's background matches ours, and she gave birth to a precious daughter for you. After all these years, how is she not better than that orphan? Don't worry, that kind of woman is easy to fool. Exactly. Serena doesn't have the resources or connections of our circle. Information is blocked from her anyway. Plus, with our lips sealed, she'll absolutely never know. Congratulations to brother Julian on marrying 2 fine wives in 2 days. Tonight, enter the bridal chamber with sister-in-law Sylvia. Tomorrow, after getting the certificate with Sylvia, enter the bridal chamber with Serena. Brother Julian is truly blessed. Hearing this familiar dialogue, Julian, frozen in place, trembled all over. It turned out that at that birthday party for his daughter, Serena had heard the entire truth. So she had completely given up on him, choosing to commit suicide at the wedding to end her life. She was leaving him forever. The noise below the stage intensified, but Julian's mind went blank. He didn't care how the audience viewed him, nor did he care if he would bear infamy, but he absolutely could not lose Serena. Julian drove like a madman toward the hospital, running 4 red lights and scraping over a dozen cars. During the last scrape, the car on the side didn't dodge but squeezed toward him. After a loud bang, the airbag deployed, and the entire left car door caved in. Under the massive impact, Julian's left arm folded at a grotesque angle, bloody and mangled. But he seemed not to feel the pain, gritting his teeth and climbing out from the right door. The hospital was right in front of him. Dragging his arm, which had lost sensation, he stumbled and crawled, finally rushing into the hospital entrance. Outside the emergency room, the doctor announced the death. The patient has lost vital signs. Resuscitation failed. Hearing that Serena had died, Lillian's vision went black, and she collapsed on the floor. Sebastian's legs also went weak, feeling like he would faint the next second. Zachary supported his parents, his face pale, forcing himself to speak. "Dad, Mom, Sister's suicide is suspicious. We can't collapse now. We have to find out the truth behind Sister's suicide." Before he finished speaking, a figure covered in blood rushed straight toward the doctors and nurses. After hearing the news of Serena's failed resuscitation, the man fell to his knees, pounding his chest heavily with his fist, letting out a desperate wail. "Serena, Serena, please don't leave me. God, I beg you." Zachary stormed forward in a rage, grabbing him by the collar. "What did you do to Serena? Why did she commit suicide at the wedding? Speak." At this moment, tears and blood mixed on Julian's face. Half of his face was swollen high, and his broken left arm hung naturally. His heart ached to the point of bursting. He had no strength left to distinguish outside voices. Looking at Julian in this state, Zachary let go and kicked him in the chest. Julian fell heavily to the ground, but seemed to have completely lost consciousness, showing no reaction. A body covered with a white cloth was pushed out of the emergency room. Julian suddenly flipped up and rushed toward the body. "Serena, this is my Serena. I want to take her home, Serena. Come home with me." Lillian, who had been weeping silently, finally roared, "We are Serena's family. Only we have the right to take her to her real home." But before Julian could hear her clearly, the nurse silently pried open Julian's hand, snatching at the gurney. The patient signed an organ donation agreement and emphasized in her suicide note that her body would not be given to anyone, especially you, Mr. Griffin. Julian felt struck by lightning, paralyzed on the spot, motionless. Glancing at the Sterling family waiting nearby, the nurse continued, "As for you, the patient did not mention any of her family in her suicide note or agreement, so I'm sorry." Her daughter really hadn't forgiven them, unwilling to even mention them in her suicide note. Thinking of this, Lillian beat her own body frantically. She hated herself for not appearing by her daughter's side sooner. "Serena, Mom is sorry. It's all Mom's fault for being careless and losing you back then." Sebastian and Zachary, tears in their eyes, silently hugged Lillian tightly. At the end of the hospital corridor, Mrs. Griffin and Sylvia suddenly appeared. Before even getting close, Mrs. Griffin started shouting, "Nurse, please give me Serena Harper's phone. I am her mother-in-law." Hearing his mother's voice, Julian struggled to stand up, sobbing, "Mom, Serena died, she died." Sylvia raised an eyebrow upon hearing this, suppressing the joy in her eyes, and stepped forward to help clean Julian's wounds with a handkerchief. With his sister's bones not yet cold, her fiancé was acting intimately with another woman. Zachary clenched his fist and was about to rush forward to teach Julian a lesson, but Sebastian held his arm. Meeting his father's eyes, Zachary froze. This was the first time in all these years he had seen such cold eyes on his father. Hearing the news of Serena's death, Mrs. Griffin just frowned and spoke again. "That makes it easier. Doctor, give us Serena Harper's belongings to handle. We are in a hurry." Zachary felt his father's grip on his arm tighten a bit more. Julian looked incredulous. He pointed at his mother's face and roared, "Mom, Serena's bones aren't even cold yet. Show some respect. What exactly do you want to do?" "Mrs. Griffin sneered and said indifferently, "Look at you, so useless. She was just a powerless orphan. If she's dead, she's dead." But the next second, her expression hardened. "It's fine that she sought death herself, but but she insisted on posting a suicide note and recording on Twitter before she died. Julian, do you know how badly she slandered you in that note? And that recording. The group's stock price has been affected by public opinion and fallen to rock bottom. While Mrs. Griffin complained loudly, the three Sterlings logged onto Twitter and saw the suicide note and recording posted by Serena. In the note, she recounted her upbringing, dating history, and her mental journey upon learning her fiancé had set up a family outside just before the wedding, as well as the marriage certificate of Sylvia and Julian posted by Sylvia. If it were only written content, this suicide note might not serve as evidence. But Serena attached an audio file to the tweet. Lillian clicked play. The next second, the Griffins' disparaging remarks and filth about her daughter rang in her ears. Hearing Mrs. Griffin demand Julian and Sylvia get the certificate and saying Serena was only fit to be a plaything, Lillian trembled with rage. Hearing the end, Lillian covered her face and wept bitterly. She couldn't imagine how sad her daughter must have been when she heard this conversation. She couldn't imagine how desperate, Orphan, Serena must have felt hearing such degradation and ridicule just when she was finally about to have her own small family. Seeing the doctors and nurses unmoved, Mrs. Griffin walked angrily toward the body. "Give me Serena Harper's phone. I need to use her account to post a clarification statement. She owes us this." Just as Mrs. Griffin was about to uncover the white cloth on the body, a figure suddenly approached. A heavy slap landed on her face. Mrs. Griffin covered her burning face and looked at Lillian in front of her in astonishment. She roared angrily, "Nurse, there's a crazy person here. Aren't you going to do anything?" Then raised her hand toward Lillian. A powerful arm locked her before she could exert force, and her right face took another slap. This time it was Sebastian. The slap was so heavy that Mrs. Griffin was knocked to the ground, half her face swelling high. Sylvia screamed and helped Mrs. Griffin up while Julian stepped forward quickly, protecting his mother with his only good arm, looking alert. "What are you doing? Why hit my mom?" "I'll call the police if you do it again," Sebastian sneered. "Your family killed my daughter and you want to call the police on us." His expression was cold, eyes full of murderous intent. He pointed his finger one by one at Julian, Mrs. Griffin, and Sylvia. You, and you will all pay with your lives for my daughter Serena." Hearing Sebastian's words, Julian's eyes widened in disbelief. Sylvia just laughed coquettishly. What a joke. "Everyone knows Serena Harper is a pauper with no parents. I think you want to use this to extort money, right? Or are you Serena Harper's sugar daddy? Julian, I told you long ago she might not be as pure as you said." Before she could finish, Zachary couldn't bear it anymore and kicked Sylvia in the stomach. With a loud bang, Sylvia rolled heavily down the stairs. He regretted not bringing the bodyguards from Sweden to China. Otherwise, dealing with these three people wouldn't be so troublesome. He walked toward Julian again, but was held back by Sebastian. Sebastian scanned the circle, finally fixing his gaze on Mrs. Griffin, revealing a cold smile without a trace of warmth. "You bullied my daughter like this, relying on that thing called the Griffin Group to back you up, right?" 6 months later, in an ice hotel in Norway. A warm fireplace burned brightly indoors. The spacious living room was surrounded by walls made of thick ice, yet the room wasn't cold. Instead, it was quite warm. Sunlight refracted through the ice layer, shining on the girl's face, plating her with a halo. The girl focused on typing on her computer, while the handsome young man beside her boredly changed TV channels. "Serena, can you not just write your thesis all day? Be careful not to become a nerd." Serena Sterling raised an eyebrow. "Nerd, who lost to me at the ice sculpture contest in Ålesund, Norway last time?" Her brother, Zachary, pouted resentfully and scoffed, then brought a glass of warm water and placed it beside her. "Don't forget to drink water." Serena took the cup, smiled brightly, and buried her head in her thesis again. Lillian sat opposite them, reading a book with her head down, occasionally looking up at her son and daughter, a happy smile rising on her lips. At the wedding 6 months ago, she witnessed her daughter's death with her own eyes. But the day after the wedding, her daughter appeared before them intact. Since then, she thanked God countless times. Fortunately, that accident was just her daughter's plan to fake death. They immediately took Serena back, and Serena was very happy to change back to her original surname, Sterling. She was too young when she got lost, remembering only her given name, not her surname, so the Welfare Institute gave her the surname Harper. 24 years later, she could finally retrieve her original name, Serena Sterling. To help Serena relax, Lillian turned down all work for the past 6 months, traveling and vacationing in various European countries with Serena. Zachary and Sebastian would also fly over to join them when they had free time. To Lillian and Sebastian's relief, although Serena still wouldn't act spoiled or throw tantrums in front of them, she no longer felt stiff about their hugs and would occasionally make requests, which overjoyed Lillian. Turning to look at the dazed Lillian, Serena spoke, "Mom, what has Dad been busy with lately? Why haven't I seen him?" Hearing her call Mom, an unconscious smile spilled onto Lillian's face again. She put down the book in her hand, walked to Serena's side, and rubbed her head. "Dad is a bit busy these days. There are many cross-border business collaborations, and he also has to make time to renovate our old mansion. It should be done by next week." "Old mansion?" Lillian smiled gently. "It's the house we had in Sweden before you got lost. We haven't lived there since you went missing. Now that you're back, we can move in together." Serena's eyes were a little moist. Their dislocation over these years not only made her experience many hardships, but also caused her family a lot of pain. Fortunately, everything was back in place now. Her father had mentioned using business warfare tactics to punish the Griffin family, but she refused. Those people were in the past to her. She didn't want her father to waste any energy on them. Ding dong, ding dong. The doorbell rang suddenly. Zachary trotted to open the door. A magnetic voice came, "Hey, here are your plane keys." Zachary invited the person in. A few seconds later, a handsome man walked in. The visitor had both the deep eyes of an Asian and the distinct contours of a European. In terms of looks, he was even superior to the most popular idols in China. For some reason, Serena felt this person looked somewhat familiar. The man greeted Lillian politely, but when his gaze turned to Serena, his statue-like features instantly froze. Zachary pushed him discontentedly. "What, never seen a Chinese beauty? This is my sister. She got lost when she was little and we just found her. She's my parents' darling now, so you better treat her well." Serena took the initiative to smile and introduce herself. "Hello, my name is Serena Sterling. I haven't been in Northern Europe for long." The man finally came back to his senses, a gentlemanly polite smile returning to his face. "Hello, I'm William Winslow. I often hear Zachary talk about you. Nice to meet you." After hesitating for a moment, he continued, "I apologize for my rudeness just now, but I seem to have seen a face identical to yours in a news report from China, but that girl passed away, right? My brother will explain the details to you." Serena took over the conversation with a smile, picked up her coat, and walked out. "You guys talk. I'm going out for some air." Zachary, who had been winking aside for a long time, pulled William aside and cautiously explained the whole story for his sister. After understanding the ins and outs, William frowned tight, glancing out the window from time to time. Wearing a thick down jacket, Serena walked aimlessly in the snow. Snowflakes fell sparsely. She reached out to catch them. They were standard hexagonal snowflakes. Winter used to be her least favorite season, but after coming to Northern Europe, she gradually accepted this temperature. After walking outdoors for 10 minutes, Serena returned to the cafe next to the hotel. The heating in the cafe was very strong, and there were 3 or 4 cats. Watching the snow scene and petting the cats for a while, Serena gradually became drowsy. Inside the hotel, William took a pair of pink rabbit gloves and walked out. Aunt Lillian asked Zachary to send gloves to his sister. Zachary was watching the blood test scene in Empresses in the Palace and couldn't pull himself away, so he sent William to deliver the gloves to Serena. After searching outdoors for a long time, William finally found Serena dozing by the window. Looking at her slightly trembling eyelashes, William couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. After ordering 2 cups of coffee, he walked toward Serena. He watched Serena's sleeping face quietly, seemingly even lightening his breathing. Suddenly, he noticed her brows furrowing tightly, tears gushing out like a floodgate opening. William picked up a tissue, wanting to wipe the tears from Serena's face, but as he approached, he heard her tearful sleep talking. He said he wanted to sleep with 30 women before getting married. Thinking of the shocking photos he saw on the news and the story Zachary just told, William's brows furrowed. He took out his phone and began searching for the name Julian Griffin. When Serena woke up, a black down jacket was draped over her. She looked up confusedly and met William's deep black eyes. "Why are you here?" William smiled gently. "Your mom asked me to bring you gloves." Looking at the pink rabbit ear gloves beside her, Serena smiled and thanked him. "Thank you." "Did you wait long?" Unexpectedly, the gentlemanly William didn't deny it. "Yes, I waited a long time." Seeing Serena's widened eyes, William suppressed a laugh and shrugged. "If you accompany me for a ride in the sky, I'll forgive you." A ride in the sky? 20 minutes later, Serena sat in the helicopter co-pilot seat, looking excitedly at the shrinking hotel and forest in the distance. She looked out the window one moment and watched William operate the helicopter the next, talking much more than usual. "I majored in aircraft manufacturing and learned a lot about aircraft architecture, but I've never flown a plane. I used to collect a lot of plane models. I have a model of this helicopter of yours too, but after moving to Northern Europe, those were left in China." "At what age did you get your pilot's license?" "That's amazing." William kept smiling as he listened to Serena ramble, saying little himself. Hearing her question, William answered without thinking, 18 years old. Sensing Serena's surprise, he hovered the helicopter, then turned his head to look straight at her with those deep black eyes. "I'm not amazing. You are the most amazing one." Serena stared wide-eyed in confusion, seeing William's ears gradually turning red. He took a deep breath and spoke slowly. "Maybe you don't remember, but we met once at an aircraft model competition. I was third place, and you won the championship." Serena examined him with a sudden realization, recalling that the year she participated in the competition during her undergraduate studies, there were indeed several foreign contestants, and one of them was of Nordic nationality. Seeing she had an impression of him, William's tone became more excited. Blushing, he continued, "At first, I thought the champion must be someone like Zachary or me, whose family owns planes and has been familiar with planes since childhood. But I later learned that the champion that year grew up in an orphanage. She was an orphan, that is true genius. Over the years, I actually kept paying attention to her, but she had a boyfriend she had been dating for many years, so I hid my feelings for her. Until recently, seeing the news about that girl's suicide, I was depressed for a long time, which is why I borrowed your brother's small plane to fly alone everywhere." Serena's face grew hotter and hotter. She turned her face away, but William's gentle voice still reached her ears. "I didn't know until today that although that girl suffered grievances, she was strong and smart, and she survived. This is the best news I've heard in my life." Serena couldn't help but turn back, meeting William's sincere eyes. She lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry, I won't consider dating for a few years. I want to continue my studies." "No need to explain." Hearing her polite rejection, William still smiled brilliantly. "I said it before. Knowing she is still alive and being able to stay by her side is the best gift God has given me." After this conversation, William naturally led the topic to aviation. Under his guidance, Serena gradually relaxed and began to enjoy the feeling of flying. Returning to the hotel in the evening, Sebastian, Lillian, and Zachary were already waiting for them in the dining room. "Dad, you're done working." Serena jumped joyfully into her father's arms. Sebastian stroked her head lovingly. "Even if I'm not done, I'll come back to accompany you first." With that, he greeted William. "William, sit down quickly. We're serving dinner soon." To make Serena comfortable, Sebastian and Lillian booked the entire hotel. The service staff remained as usual, but they were the only customers. So even with 5 people dining, the restaurant space was more than ample. The dishes on the table were almost all seafood: lobster pasta, salmon, caviar foie gras, garlic scampi. It was obvious Lillian had specially ordered this because seafood was Serena's favorite. "Mom, you're too biased. It's all Serena's favorites. Your son only eats Chinese food." Zachary looked at the dining table, seeing darkness, and wailed at his parents, only to receive a slap from Lillian. "Eat it or leave it. If you don't eat, go buy something else yourself." He looked at Sebastian with a bitter face, only to find Sebastian putting all the peeled lobster onto Serena's plate. Helping his daughter with the lobster, Sebastian immediately pulled a face. "Stop being picky. William has been helping his family run the company fully for a long time, and you're here being a picky eater. Isn't it enough that my sister is successful? You can't win the genetic lottery twice. Muttering unhappily, Zachary viciously grabbed a chopstick full of pasta. Serena snickered, shoveled half of the seafood risotto from her plate, quietly passed it to Zachary, and winked at him. In the VIP ward, Julian lay on the hospital bed, tightly hugging a box in his needle-marked hands. In the first month after Serena passed away, he refused to eat or drink and fainted at home, so his parents forcibly sent him to the hospital. For the past 6 months, he had been relying on IV drips to stay alive. He had thought about following Serena many times, but worried his elderly parents couldn't withstand the blow, so he could only dissipate his longing for Serena by not eating or drinking. He pressed the box in his hand close to his chest, tears rolling down continuously. The box contained the suicide note Serena left last, as well as the fragments of the wedding suit she embroidered for him by hand, which he found at home. That was the Chinese-style wedding suit Serena spent a whole year embroidering, filled with 1,000 happiness characters. But now they were all fragments. He dreamed countless times, scenes of going to school with Serena filling his dreams, but the end of every dream was the bride in white gauze jumping from the high platform, bloody and mangled. The ward door was pushed open. Sylvia came in carrying a food container. Over the past 6 months, this scene had played out many times, so many that Julian was getting impatient. But this time, he knocked over Sylvia's food container and said coldly, "Get out." He thought countless times, if Sylvia hadn't actively provoked Serena, if she hadn't led her to see that birthday party, everything would be fine and Serena would be by his side intact. If it weren't for you, Serena wouldn't have died. You will pay for your mistakes for the rest of your life. Sylvia sneered and spoke, but if you hadn't slept with other women first, how would Serena Harper have died? The veins on Julian's forehead bulged instantly. He jumped up and choked Sylvia by the neck. Sylvia was stunned at first, then struggled desperately, but no matter how she begged, Julian showed no sign of letting go. By the time Sylvia was saved by the nurse, there were 2 purple-red blood marks strangled onto her neck by large hands. She gasped for air heavily, grinning strangely. "Julian Griffin, I've tolerated you for a long time, but now I don't want to tolerate you anymore. I want a divorce." Julian lowered his eyes noncommittally. He stared affectionately at the fragments in the box, not caring at all about what Sylvia said. Half an hour later, Sylvia's divorce agreement arrived. Julian didn't hesitate, didn't even read it completely, and signed his name at the end. Houses, property, children, none of it mattered to him now. Whatever Sylvia wanted, let her take it. He didn't care. Because the person he cared about most in his life had left this world forever. Before Julian had time to read all the clauses carefully, as soon as the signed divorce agreement was in hand, Sylvia left easily carrying her bag. The sunlight outside the hospital was good, and birds were singing. This was the best day of Sylvia's life. Because before the marriage, she used all of Julian's savings to pay off her gambling debts, a full $400 million. She also sold all the houses under his name, faked an investment failure, and transferred the funds to her offshore account. This money was enough for her to continue squandering recklessly for the rest of her life. This position of Mrs. Griffin was really a bargain. Sylvia dialed her mother's number. "Mom, I sent you some money. You raise the kid." Hanging up the phone, she happily booked a flight to Las Vegas. The renovation of the old mansion was completed, and Serena's family moved back in. Her memories from before age 2 were extremely blurry, but when Serena walked into this villa, a familiar aura still rushed over her, and she felt her body relax involuntarily. Lillian took Serena's arm and led her straight to the room on the 2nd floor. "The decoration from when you were little was too childish, so your dad and I redesigned the room for you. See if you like it." Pushing open the door, what appeared before Serena was a room wider than a hotel lobby, leading straight to the balcony. The walls of the room were painted Morandi pink, and the wall connecting to the outside used a design combining floor-to-ceiling windows and a retractable wall. When the weather was good, lowering the wall would create a sunroom effect. Serena looked up and found a huge starry sky dome installed at the top of the room. When the night was good, she could open the dome to see the stars, and when the night was bad, she could turn on the starry sky lights hanging on the dome. Lillian took her hand and pushed open the balcony door. In front of her was a glass flower house. The air was filled with a faint floral fragrance, several blooming tulips, and a room full of violets shone brightly. Serena felt like crying. She vaguely remembered casually mentioning she liked purple flowers, but she didn't expect her mother not only to take it to heart, but also to build a purple glass flower house for her. "Thank you, Mom. This room is really too good." Lillian hugged her with heartache, patting her back rhythmically. "Baby, no need to thank me. This is what you should have had 24 years ago. You are the owner here." Serena happily moved into her dream house. For the next few days, William came over almost every day to mooch meals. Every time he came, he carried various desserts in his hands. Sometimes it was French canelés, sometimes Monaco chocolate tarts, sometimes strawberries Arnaud. Serena had no doubt her brother leaked her preferences, but thanks to William, she tasted specialty desserts from all over Europe. This afternoon, William suddenly received a call from Zachary. "William, are you free this afternoon? Can you come to my house to keep Serena company while she watches shows?" "Watch shows?" Zachary's tone was a bit sad. Maybe it's a psychological shadow left from childhood, but Serena is very afraid of being alone. Although she doesn't say it, I found she secretly wipes tears when she's alone. "Today my parents and I have an important meeting. You are the only person she knows well in Sweden, so after thinking about it, I want to ask you to come and stay with her for a while." "No problem." Agreeing to Zachary's request immediately, William dialed his assistant's number. "I have an emergency. Cancel all my schedule for today." After hanging up, William took off his suit and changed into a casual leather jacket. 20 minutes later, he arrived at the Sterling home carrying a basket of durians. Zachary said Serena liked to eat durian, so he sent a private jet to airlift some over the day before yesterday. To avoid putting pressure on her, he only brought a few today. Zachary opened the door for him remotely. He adjusted his collar and pushed the door in cautiously. "Serena, I brought you some fruit." His originally soft volume stopped abruptly when he saw the sleeping person on the sofa. He smiled, put down the durians, picked up a wool blanket, and covered her. Serena seemed to be dreaming about something, her butterfly wing-like eyelashes trembling violently. William tentatively touched her head, wanting to give her some comfort. But Serena suddenly turned her head away, balled up the blanket, and hugged it tightly. William hesitated for a moment, then went to the guest room to get another blanket. Just as he was about to cover Serena, he saw her tear-stained face. He turned pale with fright, thinking he had offended her. "Serena, what's wrong?" But the person beside him made no sound for a long time, just gasping violently. So he quickly understood she was having a nightmare again. He clumsily patted her shoulder rhythmically, just like coaxing a child to sleep. 15 minutes later, she finally stopped crying, but curled the blanket tighter, shrinking into a ball. William looked at Serena with heartache for a long time, then picked up his phone. On social platforms lately, Julian had become active again. He released a single on the grounds of mourning his late wife. Although he lost a large number of fans due to previous events, there were still many die-hard fans willing to pay for his endorsements and ads. William lingered on Julian's homepage for a long time, then dialed Sebastian's number. "Uncle Sterling, starting next week, my company will expand into China. You can temporarily stop attacking the Griffin family, because I will completely destroy him within a month." Recently, the Griffin Group had been having a hard time. First, the group spokesperson, Julian, had a scandal, causing the stock price to plummet. Then, Nordic companies inexplicably provided aerospace parts and aircraft to Griffin Group's partners at prices far below cost, causing their turnover to plummet. In desperation, the boss of Griffin Group pushed Julian out again, giving him a month to restore his and the Griffin Group's reputation. Otherwise, he and his parents would be kicked out. Julian's situation was even less optimistic. Last month, due to the divorce lawsuit, Sylvia took away all the assets. If kicked out by the Griffin Group, their family wouldn't even have a place to live. Under the pressure of livelihood, he returned to the entertainment industry with a very low posture, taking all kinds of announcements and commercial performances, finally earning back a little family fortune. That day, Griffin Group President Leonard Griffin suddenly received a call from Nordic Airlines, saying that Nordic Airlines intended to order a large batch of passenger planes and civil aircraft from Griffin Group. Nordic Airlines was formed by the merger of Denmark's DDL, Sweden's SLA, and Norway's DNL Airlines, carrying most of the routes from Europe to the world. Its demand was huge. Leonard was ecstatic at first. If this deal could really be done, Griffin Group's urgent needs would be solved. But he soon became suspicious. With so many established manufacturers in Northern Europe, why would Nordic Airlines travel thousands of miles to find them? Soon, his doubts were dispelled by the person on the other end. The CEO of Nordic Airlines on the phone said the only condition for cooperation was to let their boss's son meet Julian and take a photo. Leonard understood. This young master was probably a star chaser who wasn't well informed, a fanatical fan of Julian. He made up his mind to facilitate this cooperation before Julian's scandal reached Northern Europe. 2 days later, under Leonard's strong demand, Julian sat in the cafe next to Griffin Group's private open-air airport. After the roar of a helicopter, a mixed-race man in a white-trimmed suit walked straight into the cafe and sat opposite him. Feeling the strong aura of the man opposite, Julian frowned. He unconsciously touched his phone case. Inside his phone case was a Polaroid of him and Serena. Before she died, Serena burned all their photos and deleted all photos of herself from his album. This was the only photo he had left with Serena in it, so he carried it with him all the time. Noticing his action, the person opposite raised an eyebrow. "Hello, can I see your phone case?" Julian's movement stalled. He didn't want anyone touching anything related to Serena. But before coming, his cousin Leonard strongly instructed him not to refuse any request from the visitor. After struggling, Julian handed over the phone but avoided the person's hand, placing it in front of him. The man seemed not to feel his resistance, picking up the phone himself and silently examining the photo on the back. "This is your girlfriend. She's very pretty. Are you married?" Julian's eyes began to sting. He tried hard to suppress his choking sobs, forcing himself to stay calm. "She is the person I love most in the world, but she passed away." "How could that be? How did she go?" Julian looked away silently. He didn't intend to answer any more questions about Serena. He wouldn't allow anyone to tarnish her in conversation. The person opposite didn't mind his silence, returned the phone, and continued asking, "What is your height, weight, do you have endurance, how long is it down there?" Before coming, Julian had anticipated that this might be an extremely fanatical male fan, but he didn't expect him to be so direct. After struggling, under pressure from Leonard, he buried his head to unlock his phone. While scrolling aimlessly through social media, he forced himself to answer calmly. But what he didn't notice was that while he was entering the password, the person opposite also opened the memo on his phone and recorded a few characters. The long interrogation finally ended. The heir seemed satisfied with his answers. Fortunately, this person wasn't a pervert and didn't try to make any improper moves on him. The order was finally secured. Julian let out a long sigh of relief. Having secured the largest order in history, Leonard was ecstatic. He gathered funds from various banks and worked hard to get all departments to work overtime for production. If this cooperation went smoothly, Nordic Airlines would order aircraft from Griffin Group from now on, their funding problems would be solved, and the scale of the enterprise would reach a higher level. But a month later, the Central Tax Supervision Team received a report and found that the Griffin Group had engaged in large-scale fake accounting from top to bottom. Tax evasion was not only repeated, but involved multiple tax types. Before Julian's cheating scandal subsided, the Griffin Group was pushed to the forefront of the storm again. Julian's father and mother were arrested and imprisoned for involvement in accepting bribes and fabricating accounts. For a moment, Julian ran around frantically, trying to save his parents. But before he could find a way to save them, the Griffin Group faced a catastrophic disaster. Sweden, a morning in Stockholm. Sunlight poured into the room through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. The fire in the fireplace was burning brightly, and the entire living room was warm. Serena was reading a Swedish novel. With gusto, she had been studying Swedish for the past 6 months, wanting to apply for a PhD in aerospace at the Royal Institute of Technology. Suddenly, Sebastian, reading the newspaper by the fireplace, threw his head back and laughed loudly. Lillian and Serena looked at him in confusion. "What's wrong? What's wrong, Dad?" Sebastian coughed twice, trying hard to hold back the smile on his face. "Haven't you seen the news? The domestic Griffin group has gone bankrupt. Serena raised an eyebrow faintly. Such a big group, how could it happen? Sebastian spread his hands nervously. It wasn't me. The president of Griffin Group was scammed. He took out a huge loan to produce planes, but after production, he found that the person who placed the order didn't exist at all. Coupled with their company's illegal activities, they're finished. Lillian couldn't help snickering on the side. Those who commit sins are punished by heaven. Serena smiled faintly. Although she didn't care anymore, seeing her parents' reaction, she chimed in, "That's right." She opened her phone and saw several Weibo headline news forwarded to her by her brother Zachary. The title of the first one was "Julian Griffin cheated with over 30 people, private videos leaked." And the title of the second one was even more explosive, named "Former Superstar, Now a Male Model." She frowned and clicked on the first entry, stunned to see dozens of short videos she had seen in Julian's album. The male protagonist in them was Julian, and the girls were thoughtfully censored, but anyone with a discerning eye could tell these were different women. The things she refrained from exposing back, then out of a last shred of sentiment, were now all put on Twitter. Netizens launched a fierce verbal crusade against Julian. If it itches down there, cut it off. Don't harm your girlfriend. Poor Serena Harper must not have rested in peace. Getting stuck with such a person is truly 8 lifetimes of bad luck. I heard his deceased fiancée was an orphan. Talked for 7 years, a love marathon to the end, only to be cheated completely. Heartache for Serena Harper. 1 unfollowing. Julian dog, rot to the core. After browsing briefly, Serena clicked on the second entry. What met her eyes was a pile of dolls identical to Julian, only stark naked, with even private parts uncovered, claiming to be customized 1-to-1 according to Julian's proportions. Rumors online said Julian went to extremes to make money, not only filming pornographic films, but also selling his body data, which was now customized into erotic doll models. She widened her eyes and clicked on the audio in the post. Julian's voice, self-exposing his size, rang out clearly. Now no one doubted that Julian truly had no bottom line for money. Coupled with the Griffin Group's bankruptcy and his parents' imprisonment, the entire internet launched fierce insults and abuse against Julian. After understanding the whole picture of the news, Serena exited the video and sent a message to her brother. "Did you and Dad do this? It's so vicious. It doesn't look like you guys." Sure enough, half a minute later, Zachary sent a photo of candied durian. "Busy eating here, no time to do that stuff. Eat less at night. I packed 10 portions for you." Serena raised the corners of her mouth and smiled. An unlikely candidate emerged in her mind. William was a computer expert, proficient in various hacking techniques, and he was the head of Nordic Airlines. Could it be? It was William, right? The other side was silent for 3 minutes, then sent another photo. Candied strawberries are also quite delicious, hahaha. Serena had her answer. She picked up her phone and dialed the number. "Hello, Serena?" The voice on the other end was as gentle and polite as ever, making it hard to believe he would use such ruthless means. "William, thank you, I know everything." The other side fell silent for 2 seconds, then a laughing voice sounded, "You're welcome. If you really thank me, come to Velfad Ski Resort to keep me company skiing. I'm here right now." Serena smiled too. "Okay, give me 10 minutes. Amidst the ice and snow, 2 down jackets, 1 blue and 1 pink, were close together, rushing down the slope hand in hand. Serena tilted, and William nervously protected her with his body. The 2 fell to the ground in a heap. Serena's sunglasses were lost somewhere. Facing the gentle sunlight, she smiled brilliantly. The owner of the ski resort happened to see this scene, picked up the camera in his hand, and recorded this moment. Serena gradually adapted to life in Sweden, reading books, writing theses, and occasionally driving alone to buy groceries every day. She had long since obtained a Nordic driver's license. Today, she refused her mother's company and drove alone into the forest for an hour-long ride. As the sky grew dark, she drove home, but saw a curled-up figure at the street corner. In the freezing snow, the person wore only a trench coat, squatting on the ground, shivering. Judging by the figure, it seemed to be an Asian. She felt a bit unbearable, picked up the spare down jacket in the car, and got out. But before she could get completely close, the person suddenly looked up. After seeing her face clearly, the man's hot tears gushed out. He lunged at Serena like a madman. The moment she saw the man's face, Serena froze in place. Although this person's face was much thinner and he was skin and bones, he was undoubtedly Julian. Julian sobbed and pulled Serena violently into his arms, excessive excitement making his whole body tremble. It really was Serena. His Serena really hadn't died. He finally found her. In this instant, he finally saw the meaning of living. But the person in his arms pushed him away desperately, then spoke with a face full of defense. "Sir, you have the wrong person. Please have some self-respect." But hearing her voice, Julian was even more certain she was the person he thought about day and night. He ignored her struggles and hugged her tighter. After the Griffin family's accident, he gave up running around for his parents, sold all his shares, and planned to find a valley to end his life. But the night before he left, he saw a promotional video for a Swedish ski resort in a tavern. At the end of the video, there was a girl in a pink down jacket smiling brilliantly at the sun. His breathing stopped in an instant. He would absolutely not be mistaken. That was his Serena. He bought the master tape of the video from the tavern owner like a madman. The source of the video was Velfad ski resort in Northern Europe. He suddenly remembered that after Serena died, no one had truly seen her body. He only saw a white cloth. Infinite hope ignited in him instantly. He spent $20 million to hire over a dozen private detectives and finally captured her trace when Serena went out to buy groceries. And now, he finally found her. Scalding tears rolled down Serena's neck. She struggled desperately but was hugged tighter. "Serena, listen to me. I was wrong. Everything before was my fault. You can punish me however you want. I only beg you not to leave me again. Come back to China with me, okay? I found someone to stitch together the wedding suit you sewed for me. It's all fixed. We can still use it to get married. Come back with me to complete the wedding, okay? I promise, I'll get the marriage certificate with you immediately. I beg you." Hearing these words amidst her annoyance, Serena couldn't help laughing out loud. "Sir, who are you? Is your marriage certificate worth a lot of money?" "Serena, Serena, I beg you. As long as you come back to me, I'll give you all the money. I'll never make you angry again." Just as Julian was begging bitterly, a pair of arms rescued Serena from his embrace, while another pair of arms pressed Julian to the ground from behind Zachary, Sebastian, and Lillian. Seeing Serena hadn't returned home for a long time, came out with lanterns to look for her, and saw their precious Serena being confined in a man's arms. Hearing Julian's words, Zachary was furious. He kicked Julian hard, sending him diving into the snow. "My sister doesn't need your stinking money, even if you sold the entire Griffin group. It wouldn't match the pocket money we give her in a month." Struggling to look up and seeing the familiar family of 4 in front of him, Julian looked at Serena with red eyes. "Serena, is this your family? Did you really find your family?" He choked up and looked at Sebastian and Lillian. "Uncle, Auntie, please return Serena to me. I will definitely treat her well and never let her down again." Hearing this, Sebastian punched Julian in the face with such force that he couldn't get up for a long time. "We are not your uncle and auntie, and our Serena has never had anything to do with you. Stay away from my precious daughter, or I'll beat you every time I see you." After crawling up with difficulty, Julian grabbed Sebastian's pant leg again and made a move that shocked Serena. He knelt respectfully on the ground, kowtowing countless times on the icy road. Blood spread on his face, but his movements didn't slow down at all. "Serena, I'm sorry. Uncle, auntie, brother, I'm sorry. I wronged Serena before. But please give me a chance. I will use the rest of my life to treat Serena well wholeheartedly. She is my life." Lillian nervously squeezed Serena's hand. Her daughter was kind and innocent. She was terrified her daughter would be blinded by Julian's behavior again. But Serena patted Lillian's hand reassuringly, turned to face the figure approaching slowly, her eyes curved in a smile. "Husband, you're finally here. A homeless man is harassing me." Hearing her address, William, who rushed over upon hearing the noise, was stunned at first, then stepped forward quickly and put his arm around her waist. He smoothed her hair naturally. "Baby, don't be afraid, I'll chase him away for you." Seeing the tall man beside Serena, Julian shook all over. "You. Aren't you that?" William glanced at him disdainfully. "I am nothing, just Serena Sterling's husband. Please stay away from my wife." Watching their tightly interlaced hands, Julian felt his heart twist in pain. He suddenly realized, No wonder the dignified heir of Nordic Airlines would travel thousands of miles to China to prank a small group like the Griffin Group. It turned out it was all because of Serena. Serena, are you trying to make me angry? Are you really married? Julian's eyes were bloodshot. He stared tremblingly at Serena's face, his tone full of pleading. But Serena seemed not to see him, dropping a sentence lightly, "I never knew scum from the bottom of society." Then she turned and left. Watching the hands that remained tightly interlaced even as they left, Julian cried uncontrollably and collapsed in the snow. Zachary stared at him from behind until he saw with his own eyes the police arrest him and subsequently deport him. Approaching the door of the house, Serena suddenly realized something and let go of William's hand, her face flushing red. "Sorry about just now. It's okay, I was delighted." William's smile was as warm as spring. Serena's face burned even hotter. Lillian pinched her cheek amusingly. Sebastian was a bit unhappy, looking William up and down several times with his arms crossed. Pushing open the door, Lillian beckoned everyone inside, but Sebastian reached out to block William. His face was full of distrust toward William. "Are you interested in my daughter?" Serena was a bit embarrassed and stomped her foot. "Dad, what are you saying? He just helped me help my foot. He was taking advantage of you. Go to your room with your mom first. I'll deal with this kid." With that, he turned around and walked out with his arm around William, full of a defensive combat stance, as if William was no longer the outstanding kid he watched grow up. William looked back and gave Serena a reassuring smile. Seeing the cheering gesture Lillian made, he nodded heavily twice. "Let's go, we'll eat first. Tonight, the chef made your favorite Norwegian rock lobster pasta, dragon strawberries, and black truffles." Lillian pushed Serena to sit at the dining table with a smile, watching unblinkingly as her daughter ate in small bites. Lillian's eyes were a little moist. In the more than 20 years without fatherly and motherly love, her daughter didn't give up on herself, but grew into a brave, decisive, and outstanding woman on her own. Even compared to the socialites in her circle, her temperament was superior. She gently touched Serena's head. Looking into Serena's puzzled eyes, Lillian choked up and said, "Thank you. Thank you for coming back to Mom and Dad." Serena shrugged. Getting emotional every few days was her mom's daily routine. She pressed her mom into the chair like coaxing a child, her tone pretending to be stern. "Eat quickly, or it'll get cold." Lillian burst into laughter through her tears. 1 year later, Serena's birthday party was held in her private castle. This was built for her by Sebastian. The style was identical to Disney, but the scale was twice as large as the Disney castle. Every floor of the castle was piled with Lena bells that Serena liked, as well as various aircraft models she had collected over the past year. Today, Serena wore a princess dress handmade by a European tailor. The tight bodice was embellished with exquisite gold thread embroidery and sparkling crystal decorations. The chest and shoulders were covered by a layer of light transparent tulle. The skirt bloomed like a flower bud. She looked playful yet noble. All the guests praised her. She stared dumbfounded at the 20-plus gift boxes, big and small, in front of her. Lillian held Sebastian's arm and smiled. "These are the 24 gifts to make up for the 24 years we missed." Sebastian exchanged a gentle look with Lillian and looked lovingly at his surprised daughter. "Your mom started choosing them the moment she got news of you. You don't know, European jewelry and fashion designers were almost annoyed to death by her." Lillian looked at Sebastian reproachfully, then turned her gaze to Zachary aside, her tone becoming stern. "Where's the gift prepared for your sister?" Zachary appeared holding a bag obsequiously. Serena opened the bag and found a pile of socks with princess patterns inside. The corners of Serena's mouth twitched twice, but she still thanked him. Thanks, bro." Before she finished, Sebastian had already picked up a clothes hanger beside him to hit Zachary. "For your sister's first birthday back, you actually gave socks. I'll teach you. After a burst of wailing, Zachary covered his butt and returned to Serena's side. He pouted. "I can see it now. Their hearts have drifted all the way to the Atlantic." Serena was about to snicker when she saw Zachary pull an exquisite gift box from his pocket. "Here, I was teasing you just now. This is my real birthday gift." Serena couldn't wait to open the box. Inside lay 2 keys. Zachary patted her shoulder. "The key on the left is for a pink Bugatti sports car. It's inconvenient for you to always drive the dark gray cars at home. The key on the right is for the latest private jet model in Northern Europe this year. I'll sign you up for flight lessons later." Before he finished, Serena exclaimed and hugged Zachary's neck. "Thanks, bro, I've wanted a plane for so long, thank you." Pushing Serena away forcefully, Zachary picked his ear uncomfortably. "So noisy. Use it well." Suddenly, his gaze looked diagonally ahead. He winked at Serena for a while, then quickly escaped to the bathroom. William walked toward her carrying a huge cake box. Serena reached out to take it, looking inside curiously. "This is a 3-layer cake I made myself. I hope you like it." Serena widened her eyes. "You can make cakes?" William looked at her amusingly. "Didn't Zachary tell you? All the desserts I brought to your house before were made by me personally. Your brother said you love desserts, so I went to learn." He said it lightly, but Serena knew how incredible it was for a pampered young master to learn dessert making from scratch to his current level. Feeling William's focused gaze, Serena's cheeks felt a little hot. "Thank you for the gift. I like it very much." William smiled gently and touched her head lightly. After the carnival, it was finally time to cut the cake. William made a 3-layer garden cake, each layer filled with a dazzling array of flowers. Under everyone's teasing, the part with the rose was given to Serena. She smiled and tasted it bite by bite, but found a key in a sealed bag in the last part. Seeing Serena's puzzled look, William's smile was as dazzling as the sun. He leaned down and whispered in her ear, "This is my real birthday gift to you. It's a Spanish estate surrounded by sunbathing grounds. I know you like sunshine the most. I hope you can always be bathed in sunshine in the future." "Thank you." Serena clenched the key in her palm, pressing it close to her chest, feeling her heart beating fast. The indoor lights were warm and bright, and the people around were kind and considerate. The days of hunger and cold in the past seemed like just a nightmare. The sound of Zachary bickering with Mom and Dad came from a distance. Everything was so warm. She had just made a birthday wish to God. She wanted this moment to last forever.